In that game, Clark scored her 103-point shot this season, becoming just the sixth woman to do so and first in her rookie season. Any kind of critique of Caitlin Clark, because that gives fodder to those who believe she's being hated on and ostracized to some degree. You know basketball better than me. You know basketball than any of the pundits. You know basketball better than most of the men that play basketball.
Did you know that Caitlin Clark's Indiana Fever games averaged over 900,000 viewers this season? That's more than some NBA games. But here's the kicker. The Fever might have to choose between keeping Clark's supporting cast or protecting future draft picks. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great! Thank you so much. Now back to the video. That's right, the expansion draft is forcing the Fever to make some tough calls. They can only protect 6 players, and every choice could impact those viewer numbers and, more importantly, their chances at a championship. Want to know who's on the chopping block? Stick around, because we're diving into the stats and scenarios that could make or break the Fever's future. Picture this: Caitlin Clark's on fire, lighting up the scoreboard like it's the 4th of July. But the Indiana Fever, they're sweating bullets. Why? Because they've got a massive problem on their hands. The team can only keep 6 players. That's right, just 6. So who stays and who goes? It's like musical chairs, but with million-dollar contracts on the line. Let's break it down. There's Kelsey Mitchell, the veteran who's been with the Fever through thick and thin. She's seen more ups and downs than a roller coaster. Mitchell's been the heart and soul of this team, putting up solid numbers year after year. But here's the kicker: she's not getting any younger, and her contract isn't getting any cheaper. But wait, there's more.
Any kind of critique of Caitlin Clark, because that gives fodder to those who believe she's being hated on and ostracized to some degree. But despite the attendance and viewership records, there seems to be some haterade in the league. My WNBA Player of the Week, surprise, surprise, Indiana Fever rookie sensation, Caitlin Clark. It's nothing really to say of it. Caitlin Clark became the first ever rookie in WNBA history to record a triple-double twice in the same season.
What about Lexie Hull? Talk about a zero to hero story. This girl went from warming the bench to lighting it up from beyond the arc. Her three-point shooting? It's been hotter than a summer day in Indiana. The fans love her, the coaches love her, but is that enough to keep her safe? The Fever's front office is scratching their heads so hard they might need helmets. Do they stick with Mitchell's experience or roll the dice on Hull's potential? It's like choosing between a reliable old car and a shiny new sports model. Both have their perks, both have their risks. Here's where it gets really crazy. Every choice the Fever makes impacts their salary cap. One wrong move and boom, they're broke. No money for free agents, no cash to lure in the next big star. It's like playing chess, but the pieces are real people with real careers on the line. You know what the craziest part is? We haven't even talked about Caitlin Clark yet. Will the Fever protect her? Of course they will. But what does that mean for the rest of the team? Keeping Clark is a no-brainer, but it's also going to eat up a big chunk of that salary cap. The Fever's got more tough choices to make than a kid in a candy store with only $1. Who else is on the hot seat? Which players are packing their bags and which ones are here to stay? Stick around, because we're about to dive into the rest of the roster. Trust me, you won't want to miss this. Remember NaLyssa Smith? Raw talent, crazy athleticism, but about as consistent as a weather forecast. The Fever are in a real pickle with her. Keep her and risk those wild swings in performance, or let her go and watch her become a superstar somewhere else. It's like trying to predict which scratch-off ticket is going to hit the jackpot. You know what's making this whole situation even crazier? The Golden State Valkyries and Portland Pilots are watching the Fever like hawks. These new teams are ready to snatch up any player Indiana leaves unprotected. It's like they're circling a buffet, just waiting for the good stuff to come out. Let's talk about Smith for a second. This girl's got potential that's off the charts. We're talking game-changing ability here. But man, her ups and downs are giving the Fever front office more headaches than a math exam. They can't afford to lose her though.
My cold open, but I'm going to mention it now, and that's Caitlin Clark herself of the WNBA. Let's get to the WNBA. In that game, Clark scored her 103-point shot this season, becoming just the 6th woman to do so and first in her rookie season. Clark and the Fever currently lead the WNBA in average game attendance and per game TV viewership.
You know why? Because if they do, she could be the key piece in a trade that comes back to bite them later. But hold up, there's even more drama. Veterans like Erica Wheeler and Tiffany Mitchell are on the chopping block too. These ladies have been through it all with the Fever. They've seen the good times, the bad times, and everything in between. You know how important that kind of experience is for a young team? It's like having a GPS when you're lost in a new city. The Fever's facing a tough call. Stick with the vets who know the ropes or gamble on young blood with sky-high potential. It's not just about talent, it's about building a team that works together. You've seen how teams like the Seattle Storm have done it, right? They've got that perfect mix of seasoned pros and up-and-comers. And get this.
You know basketball better than me. You know basketball than any of the pundits. You know basketball better than most of the men that play basketball. To be as accomplished as she is, to be the Hall of Famer that she is, all the speculation that there's folks hating on Caitlin Clark. That's all she did. Reality is, it didn't happen to this level until Caitlin Clark showed up.
Word on the street is that the Valkyries are on the hunt for players who can make an impact right away. That's putting even more pressure on the Fever to make the right calls. It's like playing chess, but the pieces keep changing shape. You want to know what's really keeping everyone up at night? The thought that Kelsey Mitchell, the heart and soul of this team, might be wearing another jersey next season. Is she staying or going? The Fever's got to decide fast because the clock's ticking. They've got to make their moves before it's too late, or they might just watch their chance at building a dynasty slip right through their fingers. All right, let's wrap this up. The Indiana Fever are at a crossroads, and every move they make now could create a dynasty or lead to disaster. It's crazy to think about, right? Their choices aren't just about keeping players. They're sending a message about what kind of team Indiana wants to be. Are they going all in on youth and potential with Clark and Boston? Or are they sticking with the vets who've been through the trenches? The Fever's future is hanging by a thread, and fans are on the edge of their seats. Will they make the right calls and set themselves up for years of success? Or will they fumble their chance at greatness? You know what's wild? These decisions could change the entire landscape of the WNBA. Imagine if the Fever build a super team around Clark. They could dominate for years. But if they mess this up, they might be stuck in mediocrity for a long time. The pressure's on, and the whole league is watching. What do you think the Fever should do?